Three would definitely be the development of sports in Malaysia, especially with regards to grassroots sports development program. And one of the biggest challenges is funding. We get a lot of sponsors on high performance sports, but not on development sports because it's very new. And these are basically newcomers and very unknown faces. And for the government to subsidize the development program, it's very, very high. So I believe that one of the best strategies for 2008 is to get more commitment from private companies to support development program for sports.
Well, taking development program aside, what about the performance of Malaysian sportswomen and men in the international scene? What sort of events have met your expectation?
Well, I suppose the SEA Games would be the closing curtain for 2007. The fact that we did very, very well for the SEA Games, which is a continuity of the Manila SEA Games in 2005. We've got fourth placing, 61 goals. And now we've got second placing with 68 goals. And of course, although on one hand you know that a lot of people say that we're doing very well, but of course, on the other hand, we must make ourselves more aware of the challenges, especially for games in regard to subjective sports. And judging can be quite biased. And over and above, for the Malaysian contingent, of course for us, we had no choice but to share the challenges of putting development athletes and the elite athletes. And you know, the continuity program of every sports, besides the games, there are also the particular sports world championship. You get challenges of injuries, you get challenges of the athletes' performance and non-performance. And of course the highlight for next year would be the Beijing Games. And the expectation of the Malaysian public is of course a goal in any particular sports that we send our athletes in. But that is the highlight of a world quality of world sportsmen and sportswomen. But of course, overall, you talk about particular sports, a bit difficult to answer your question because depending on the games.
But any particular games or disciplines that have made you very, very proud?
Well, I think I'm very proud of all games. Well, the only thing that I'm not proud of is, of course, is football. But that is a different issue. But I believe overall, the sports in Malaysia, especially athletes participating, they are getting better and better. But again, we would like to have more supply of athletes. And that's always the biggest challenge is the supply of new athletes. So no point looking into any particular sports if you put all eggs in one basket and there's no continuity. So it doesn't mean anything for the development of that sports.
Well, judging from, I'm sure the biggest concern for you now it's talent development in sports. So from the SEA Games itself, now we have seen a batch of young players that were deemed to replace the senior players someday. But their performance at the SEA Games didn't inspire confidence. So how would you put it?
Well, I suppose that's quite normal because of the fact that SEA Games is always an introduction to international arena for most athletes. At the same time, you know, some of the athletes that we put in the SEA Games are being challenged by very experienced athletes from other countries. I mean, we are not like some countries where we import athletes. We don't import athletes. We try our very best not to import athletes. And well, day by day, you look at any athletes in any country. There's a lot of research, science and technology being applied. The athletes' physical development do change. The emphasization. So these are all this basically would be a challenge for every athlete. And then of course, you know, the fact that I am in WADA, in the World Anti-Doping Board member of WADA, it's a big challenge. We don't encourage cheating. We don't encourage using of illegal drugs, steroids. But there are some athletes in some countries do obtain being a winner in certain shortcuts manner that they do. But in Malaysia, we would like to continue to play fair. And for our athletes to lose out to those who don't play fair, I mean, we have got to continue to give them the confidence that for the government, we appreciate what they do and we respect them. You win some, you lose some, that's what we say in every games. But at the same time, I do know some athletes are very disappointed when they lose on unfair judging biased judging, they lose on cheaters who cheat and not play fair. But again, as far as Malaysian government is concerned, we see the success of sports in Malaysia is definitely the interpretation of civilization of every country. Usually, a lot of countries, the government's expenses is always the least is for sports. When you build hospitals, you build schools, you build roads, you build bridges, you don't build stadiums. It's always last on the list. So this government, under the leadership of the present Prime Minister, Datuk Sri Abdullah Haji Ahmad Badawi, we are looking into quality spending. And that's also a big challenge for association. Because when you talk about quality spending, is you are saying, you talk about maintenance culture, you talk about physical development, that should be irrelevant. What is important is developing the person itself. So the athletes will be seen as the biggest investment that we do on personality. But if the athletes don't perform based on cheating, don't perform based on other reasons, of course it's a big disappointment for the government, for the country. But as far as our stand is today, is we develop all athletes regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of background. This is the Malaysian government. And I believe that the SEA Games success is because of the formula that we apply, that we treat everyone fairly. And if the athlete lose or win, I mean, we don't punish the athlete. Unless if they go into something illegal, then we punish them. But most of all, we understand different games with different challenges.
Well, with regards to now athlete development and also developing the athletes to their biggest potential, what are the crucial areas the ministry would like to look into if you don't believe in importing players as a mean towards it?
Yeah. Well, of course, well, you know, below 40 years old, we've got 11 million young people. Below 40 years old, and below 25 years old, we've got 5.5 million people. Every year, the amount of young people leaving school at 17 years old would be almost 400,000. So that tells you basically that this is a young country, it's a young nation. And we do have a lot of young personalities that we can develop. That is why for the government, we divided the National Sports Council with the creation of the institute, the National Sports Institute. I mean, this is due to the fact that we believe that we must apply sports science application in finding new talents. And we're going very big in talent identification. We spend a lot of money on the grassroots development with the development of the community sports club. So in every state assembly area, there are 537 sports clubs that we form under the government creation. We've got a sports club under housing development, community development. So the creation of all these entities, the club development itself is the first stage that we do. We wanted a very strong structure at the ground level. And from there, the National Sports Institute will definitely come in to do a lot of talent identification program. And we have done quite a lot of talent identification. And one of the strategies that we are applying is basically we wanted every child to be given the opportunity that he or she can represent the country, or he or she be able to be tested as a potential athlete. So basically that policy that we apply, this is the democratic government, but we do apply a very fair approach. We don't discriminate any child. For the government, we won't see results within these 5 years, but we maybe see results in the next 10 years. But as far as this government is concerned, we, the Malaysian government, believe that it should be given to all Malaysians. And that can also assist us in finding a champion. For where we are now with the high performance athlete, we are doing quite well. So all we have to do is to have more supply so that we're able to really continue with success. Well, the Prime Minister's catchword when he speaks all the time is always about quality. He always talks about excellence, and I believe that that's basically what we're passing down to the athletes. It's all about being the best and being the very, very best. You always become number one.
That's really